Beating Katie Ledecky in the final stretch. The crowd roaring as the Aussie will take over the top spot from Katie Ledecky and win gold.
Welcome to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot. I'm joined by the kid MG in studio, Marcos.
Hi, Nico.
Fantastic.
Big week.
Free. Gyms are back open. School's back on. No more fresh hell homeschooling. I'm fucking wrapped.
Yes, I can tell it. You're up and about this morning. You've been a bit flat over the week.
Haircuts.
Yes.
Everything's back on.
Yes. No mask for you?
No
mask.
No mask.
Yeah.
No. It's amazing what oxygen does for the melon. Have a look at the other mask thing I see is the Olympics. We heard it in the intro. Titmus versus Ledecky.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. The nation has just jumped aboard the Olympics. And fair enough too. Lockdown absolutely sucks. But thank God we've got that up and about. But how good is the swimming as a betting event as starters? But the theatre is just amazing, isn't it? The excitement.
Yeah, it's also good for the Australians generally because we've been at the dominant end of the pool that they start off with the swimming. It's at the front end of the Olympic schedule, so it gets everyone involved,
up and about.
Especially for the Aussies. And Channel 7 have done a really good performance so far with their background stories. I think they get a lot of people in with the swimmers. There's been a couple of really good stories behind the scenes and the way they cross live
to the parents and get them all involved.
Yeah, and the coverage on the 7 app, we'll give a shout out. It's been
7 Plus. You need 7 Plus app on your phone or on your smart TV, and that makes the world of difference. And the Olympics app is something that Top Rope uses for scheduling and results. So just jump into the App Store and get the Olympics app. I think it's got a blue ring around it. It's like the second app down. So that's made a world of difference to me. Yeah,
it's made for betting, isn't it? Really, that we've got is about 20, 25 channels.
Yes.
And with Top Rope firing in his torches left, right and centre and far and wide.
Yeah.
Not all the all the wide sports get shown if it was just 1 or 2 channels, which we've had in the past. So it's awesome. You can go and see it. And with Top Rope supplying some winners daily so far, it's been a good watch. And the swimmers Ariana Titmus was awesome. And she goes
today 200,
not so long in the 200. So
and then the 800, I think she's got left.
Yeah, she's got a big schedule.
She might win both.
She'll have a couple of relays to come as well. So the swimming team's going really well. So hopefully the men can start to match the females as well.
I saw something interesting on Instagram the other day, and it was a big punter that I know. I think he won 70,000 on Titmus in the 200, which is just balls of steel. Taking about $1.40, $1.50 about it. That's a fucking big bet. And Top Sport, well done for taking that. It's amazing. It's a great time to take a bet as a bookie because it's absolutely prime competition. It's a big stage. There's no tricks. There's no secret. It's just 2 gun athletes in their prime. It's like grand final day. You just open the bag and lay it and take the bets on. It's a good attitude and angle to have.
Yeah, it's a tough watch. You were.
I would have been pissing my pants.
Yeah, you were on watching Titmus and you were a bit why she can't win. She can't win. I said wait until the last 100. She's perfectly positioned. In the run punters, it would have been
crazy.
Great betting because she does storm home. She'll do the same in the 200. So anyone who's watching it today live, don't get too disappointed if her first 100 she's not turning with them. She'll storm home at the end. It'll be a tough watch if you're on her, but it only counts on the wall.
Gee, the way she finishes off, I reckon she's a sneaky for the 800. Not that I know anything about the sport, and gamble responsibly if you're into it. But let's talk about our main passion here, and that's AFL. Western Bulldogs got the job done against Melbourne. I think last time on the show when D's blitzed Western Bulldogs, we thought, next time we want to shade and be with the doggies and they can turn it around, and that's what they did at their home deck. And Melbourne have got an identity crisis, or the wheels have sort of fallen off. They're shaky the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks. They're still right up there. They've got a lot of credits in the bank. They're still going to beat all the bad sides, but from a premiership perspective, it's looking shaky, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good. We really summarised that match accurately, I guess, going on last week's show. We really thought Bulldogs could turn it around, and the coaching staff need a shout out for the Bulldogs because Beveridge really went to work, which he had to do on getting his players to lower their eyes. And the Bulldog 1 to 39 slot was a decent bet. Ended up being right in the slot as well. Actually, never really got either side of it. They kind of controlled that 3 to 5 goal gap most of the game. So in terms of that respect, it was very easy watch. The Bulldogs controlled the midfield by and large. And lowering the eyes makes a big deal of difference, especially going in with a tough Melbourne defence. And they're just going better, the Bulldogs. And right now, I think, Geelong have won 10 of their last 11, and I know you're a pot on Geelong, but, if you're playing Bulldogs and Geelong right now in the grand final, I know which side you'd rather be on.
Who?
The Dogs.
Okay. So the Dogs and the Cats are 1 and 2 in the clearances from the limited data that we get out of Champion data.
Yes.
Does that just explain it? It's that simple. Like if the Dogs have got Libba firing, he's extracting. If the Cats midfield, the grand finals is going to be won or lost out of the guts. Clearances.
Yeah, it's a part of it. It's not everything. You can always, there's different parts of the game. Goal kicking's obviously very important. We've seen, there's probably been seriously 40 to 50 games this year resulted on goal kicking alone. But it's ball movement. The speed of the ball movement is the difference between those two sides. Geelong very much like to play the chip and charge control and bring everyone up the ground and try and almost wear you out, where the Bulldogs want to wear you out by just pure speed. So it's definitely a contrasting styles. They're both very good around the ball, but they've got contrasting styles going forward for sure. But it could just come down to accuracy. If if the grand final was played next week, both sides going full ball, it'd probably just come down to who kicks straighter.
Okay, so dry deck, who do you want to be on? Doggies?
Bulldogs.
Wet deck, who do you want to be on?
Probably just shade Geelong.
Okay, and then I see the AFL, June Loop. They've, I think they've penciled that in or pre-booked, and
they've cleared the decks.
They've cleared the decks there, and one of our mates, ex-bookie out of Beijing, has been tweeting about how putrid the accommodation and the service is over at June Loop Resorts. So it looks like it's like a not a great facility there, but if it's played over there on a dry day, Bulldogs are the way you'd go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think the finals right now are probably on a knife edge. It's probably, it's a coin flip in the betting, I think. Melbourne, they'll do everything.
To see who hosts.
They'll do everything to host it. But, if you were probably having, if it was a betting option, you'd probably just favour Perth right now. I think that's a safer option.
Let's. One of the low lights is probably the Carlton Kangaroos game. It feels like we've beat up on a regular basis about Carlton, but they're just such an interesting betting proposition. Or 6.5, I think, to 9.5 or something like that in the betting last week, and they just didn't turn up against the Kangas, did they?
Yeah, the bookies. Chatting to a few on the inside, they just want Carlton to play all 9 games every week because they have been a complete fill this year. For the bookies, Carlton have been the most bet side. They were again on the weekend, even though Harry Mackay did come out, and they get beat. They're unwatchable. And speaking of identity crisis, you think what you mentioned before with the D's, Carlton, they're structuralists, they're rudderless at the top. They've got problems on and off the ground. And I don't know, they've made some major errors in the last, 12 months, we would say, with contract signings. And even Cripps, to re-sign him for 6 years is crazy because he seems to have lost the spark. And I'm not sure whether that's just because he realises that he may never play finals in the rest of his career, the way they're going.
Savage.
Well, it's true. I mean, you look at the last 2 decades of Carlton, you're not exactly positive when their next finals campaign is going to be. It's certainly not this year, and I can't see it next year. They've got to make a lot of changes off the field as well as on. And it's going to be interesting to see where they go. But they're a basket case right now.
They've got no hard edge, in my opinion, and I think they need someone like the old Clarko when Hawthorn played that, was it unsociable football? And it's interesting, my insiders, I sound like Caroline Wilson, but it just won't go away, the link of Clarkson to Carlton. They must be absolutely desperate to get him. And I think Heater and Daisy sort of mentioned it the other day. There's still this lingering rumour that Carlton want and are going to still try and get Clarkson, despite him clearly saying he's staying.
Yeah, I think it's more the inside of the media keep pumping it up because it sells clicks.
No, I don't know. Like it just keeps. There's too many different people saying it now.
Well, maybe, but I think the toughest thing for Clarko right now, even if he wanted to go, is would you want to go to Carlton or Collingwood?
No,
he's not going to go somewhere where a team is at least not on the up. Otherwise you stay at. You would have stayed at Hawthorn. You would have fought harder to stay there. I would have thought, but. They're going to have to make a change, Carlton, for sure. I don't think that's in doubt at all. And they need a harder coach, you're right, but they need to get some tougher players. The players need to play with a bit of grit. Go through the year this year and tell me when Carlton's last time had a hard bump and put someone on the ground. It's just crazy. They never set the scene, Carlton.
About 6 or 8 weeks ago, I think we said, who would you want to coach out of the teams? And my answer may have been Carlton, but irrespective of where they are on the ladder right now, if you had to coach one of, I guess, the few cellar dwellers, we'll throw in North Melbourne. If you had the opportunity to coach the Kangas, Hawks, Carlton or Collingwood, which list and which side would you take right now?
Probably just shade Collingwood with.
You take them?
Just Collingwood, just with the youngsters they've been able to blood. I think they've blooded 9 this year. It might stand corrected if it's 1 or 2.
And they've had some bad injuries.
They'll get the other Dacos will come in next year. Now, whether I assume you play straight away. They've had some injuries, especially to their back six. Remember that they've missed Howe and Moore. They've still got a pretty good dominant ruckman. Their forward lines are concerned, sure, but you got De Goey and Adams and stuff in the middle. I think Collingwood could probably rebound a bit better, and they've been there recently. So whether I would say Pendlebury goes around again. But yeah, of the bottom ones, of the ones you mentioned, it's probably Collingwood. The other one's probably Freo. Freo have got some upside. They've had a horrific run of injuries again. But whether Fife can, maintain his body for a full season to give him a crack's another question.
I'm sort of hearing that Voss and Kingsley are in the mix.
For Collingwood?
For Collingwood, yeah.
Well, they've got to keep throwing out names because they've got to find someone at some stage, don't they? But, if Collingwood had their choice, it's obviously Clarkson. Whether they can get him or not is another question. But I think
it's done. He's definitely not going to Collingwood. Carlton seems to be the only option there. And
yeah, I can't imagine Collingwood would go for a first-time coach.
Yeah, they probably need someone that can handle all the media pressure.
Yeah, Voss could, definitely.
Yeah.
And if it comes between Voss and Kingsley, I think it's one-sided betting affair there.
All right, let's have a quick look at round 19, the bookie wrap. The favourites went 5 and 9 at 56%. The line shaded the plus there, 4 and 9, 44%. The total overs, first over, real big dominant over week, much to your delight, MG, 7 out of 9. And then you've got for the season there, 106 to 160, of 162 there, the favourites, 74 and 1 out of 162 matches, 46% there, the line. And the totals are just shading over there, 84 to 162. You went 3 and 3. You've sort of been treading water for the last couple of weeks. Some really sick beat in the Sydney Fremantle game, and it feels like you're a record on repeat. The goal kicking, it's if it wasn't tragic, it's a little bit funny. I have a little bit of a giggle, and MG's loading up on all these totals, and I ask, why do you keep doing it? It's got to be the most stressful way to bet the totals, so I avoid it for my sanity and longevity. Let's have a look at the hits and misses as we spoke about the money, where it's gone for round 19. Port Adelaide, the line was a big go, 6.5 to 23.5. That was a hit. West Coast St Kilda, the total there was 159 to 155. It was 180, so there's a miss. The Hawks line, 2.5 to 8.5. That was a miss. The total there, 148 to 159. That was a hit in the Adelaide Hawks game. Melbourne Western Bulldogs, the total under, 152 to 139. So mostly a miss there. And then the one we just spoke about there, Sydney Freo, the total went 157 to 162. That was a sick beat there. And they got the middle in the Geelong Richmond game, 154 to 148.5. So it's been very interesting. And this week's games are absolutely treacherous. So not just in AFL, but NRL. There is just some topsy-turvy matchups. There's sides that are just absolutely yo-yo. So it's going to be a really tricky week. So I'm looking forward to hearing you break them down and Top Rope Tedeschi on today's show. But firstly, Sting of the Tail. This is where we take an industry or an issue or something that's sort of getting our goat up. And the one I want to talk about today is the keyboard warriors. I saw a bit of a tweet from David Zaharakis, and someone has gone and slid into his DM and accused the Bombers of tanking or throwing the match. Some moron has obviously backed the Bombers. He's got the shits, and it's becoming a massive issue in the game of AFL where players are getting personal attacks. And I know that we give Steve Hocking and Peter V'landys a fair bit of stick on this show, but I can safely say not once have I gone into Steve Hocking or Peter V'landys' DMs on their Twitter account or their Instagram account and given them a mouthful. I've never done it to any player or any bet. I'm silly enough to take the bet, and I accept that risk. But to make it personal about the player and go attack him in his personal life is absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, it's not on. Yeah, and it's it's kind of, I guess it's reared its ugly head, and it does go on every week. It's whether just a player speaks out about it and makes it a story. I'm sure it goes on most days, unfortunately, for athletes, and it's just whether they report it or not, or let it go. But yeah, it's becoming a slippery slope, isn't it? Because the amount of gambling related to the sports now breaks it down to very much player performances, because that's what people like to bet on, and especially with same-game multis and everything like that. So I guess it kind of highlights more a player's individual performances, especially in a team sport, more than ever. And this opens up, I guess, for either supporters or people who actually invest in the game to express their disappointment in players' performance, whether they kick poorly in front of goal. I think we had, was it earlier this year or last year, when Lachie Neale and McCluggage kicked like 1 goal, 11 or 13 between them. And Lachie Neale actually handled it very well when he got a spray. I think he kicked 1-5 or 1-6. He kicked 0 goals 6, and a punter actually had Neale anytime goal scorer and got in, and Neale actually came out on the front foot, which is classy for the guy to do, and said, "I do owe everyone a beer and I apologise for the bad kicking." So there's different ways of handling it as well. But yeah, I just think there's a line that you can't cross. And there's a big difference between expressing, I guess, on a public social forum as opposed to digging into someone's private. And when you start attacking the family members, especially the partners, and we've seen some cases where they go to the children as well.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Now, I think people know deep down that's not on, and I think people have got to be respectful that if you would like it done to your own family, or don't say anything that you wouldn't say to your mother. Those kind of things should run true when anyone sits down in front of a keyboard and wants to send a message or track down a player and give them a personal spray. Because, the athletes put up with it, or I guess tolerate it more in a social setting, because they're the ones that sign on as a pro athlete. But their family certainly aren't part of that, so I think that should be left well alone. And it's good now. It's good now that they actually do out them, and the accounts do close down very quickly, which also shows those people of how gutless they are.
Yeah, I think the betting companies, it'd be great if they could submit all the haters, or get someone in the footy clubs to ban their betting accounts. Like, don't let them bet on the matches. I know it's a knee-jerk reaction, but it'd be great to get them banned and just wipe them out of the game. If I saw Steve Hocking or Peter V'landys in a room, I would tell them face to face. There'd be nothing that I didn't say on this show that I wouldn't say to them face to face. And I'd challenge these trolls that slide into the DMs, and even people that troll us online. If we met them in person, I don't reckon they'd have the balls or the steel to come up and have a crack at us and say some of the stuff that they would. Like, in the past, some guys have superimposed like my head or Little Birdie's logo and Tristan in like porn and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's absolutely just madness. And I think what the trend will be, if this continues, same game multis will get wiped out, and we see it at the footy. So I liken this behaviour to the guys that throw glass at the footy. And now, I think for the last 10 years, 15 years, we've been drinking beer out of plastic cups. So it takes 2 or 3 absolute wankers to do the wrong thing. Not only they'll ban same-game multis, all the player interviews in the club rooms, they'll get banned, and it'll just be like shut off completely. So if you're out there doing it, you need to stop betting or just pull your head in.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's always the 1% that spoil it for the larger population. And yeah, unfortunately, that causes more damage for everybody else. And it doesn't matter where it's attacking someone for missing a goal or going off with an injury that's maybe suspect, but it also stems through to racism and all other personal choices that athletes have that they can, get attacked for that aren't warranted, basically. And, I agree with that. I just think people have got to be more educated in what they put out there. and be more respectful, I guess, because at the end of the day, they're just doing their job. They're trying their best. Some aren't up to it, and we kind of take the piss out of it as well, whether you're an individual or a team. And it's you see it in the Olympics all the time now. The pressure that goes on when you wait 4 years for an event, it's a bit different with the AFLs. They can kind of go back out there the next week and try and recover what happened the week before. You see an unbelievable amount of pressure on the Olympics, don't you? Now some of these athletes have waited 5 years for a performance.
It's a tiny thing, and then someone runs onto the BMX thing, and you skittle them. It's absolutely
different. So yeah,
chaos.
I just think it's the few that do it, and they spoil it for the large, and it could change a lot of behaviours going forward for everybody else. As you said, people want to hear from the coaches, they want to hear from the players, they want access to the players, and especially as kids growing up, that's what it's about. But the players are entitled to cut off if they're getting abuse out wide that's unwarranted.
Exactly. So if you like taking same game multis and want to continue, just cut out the sliding and the abuse online. Okay, this on today's show we're going to look at the AFL and NRL this week. We'll touch in with Top Rope on his Olympic game stuff. We'll have a look at the Hall of Fame. But if you're having a bet this week or on the Olympics, make sure you check out topsport.com.au. They got hundreds and thousands of markets on the games, and they've been in the game for 30 years. So they take big bets. There's some really big bets being taken on the swimming. So it's fantastic stuff what they're doing at topsport.com.au. So make sure you give them a go. We'll take a quick break and then we'll look at AFL round 20 next. Welcome back to the Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot, and I got the Kid MG brought to you by puntingform.com.au and Top Sport, Australia's biggest betting bookie. Let's look at round 20 AFL action now. And the opening match is Friday night at the Dome. We've got a blockbuster, St Kilda versus Carlton. Wow, just both languishing there at 12th and 13th on the ladder. Disappointing seasons for both. Not sure how it's landed the marquee blockbuster, but I guess everyone needs their time in the sun, so to speak. $1.54 the Saints here, $2.50 the Blues, 10.5 the market here at Marvel Stadium. Finally, the bookies have jumped off Carlton and think that they're going to put St Kilda in as $1.54 favourites here. MG. Steaming in to the Sainers?
No, not steaming in. These two teams are a very difficult watch. And you'd have to be a little brave or travelling well from the Olympics, I think, to invest in this game. But it's Friday night, so it will get plenty of action come Friday night. I'd probably at the current minus 10.5. If you had to twist my arm, I'd probably just back St Kilda at that price. Didn't like what I saw from Carlton last week.
Hard to like anything about that loss to Kansas.
Yeah, not that St Kilda fill you with any joy either, but yeah, I just think Carlton, the year might have just become too much for them, and they might have just thrown in the towel. So this is, both sides will probably miss finals, but mathematically this is the elimination game for both. So we'll see what happens. But Carlton losing to Kangaroos last week by 39 points, that's their worst loss of the year. They were very poor, weren't they? I know Harry Mackay was out.
Well, they got just wiped off the park. But can Mackay and maybe Curnow, two big ins, if they get recalled?
Yeah, I mean,
can that Curnow
hasn't played for nearly 2 years, so the expectations wouldn't be high coming in. Mackay's probably he's probably likely to play, but he could miss. A few of us in the Coleman medal betting would be hoping he maybe misses one more to really heat up that market with 3 rounds to go. But I just think that Carlton have just got too many problems to invest your money in anymore. I'd be putting a line through them for the rest of the year. So if you're going to bet, I'd bet St Kilda.
I couldn't bet on anything. I'd just save my money for another day. If you're betting into that match, you need help. Saturday night at the Gabba, we've got a neutral venue here. We've got the Bombers and the Swans, and the Swans have come up favourite, $1.37 and $3.10 the Bombers. Line has been 16.5 to 19.5. So Swans heavy favourites here. I look at that market at Top Sport and I think, the Bombers a small bet for me at the plus. I know I'm a bit of a Bomber man. I'm happy to try and forgive last week. Yeah. I think they were just flat as a tack. I can't explain what happened after half time. I think they kicked 1 goal 7.
Yeah.
It's like they swapped jumpers or something like that. But that's what happens when you play the Giants.
Yeah. Well, both sides are up and down, aren't they?
So weird.
Very hard to follow both sides. and probably coming into this game, I know you look at it and you see plus 19, plus 20. You think Essendon are a price, and I'm not going to argue with that fact. Early bookies actually posted minus 12, which were definitely a bet for Swans. Unfortunately, it didn't last too long, and we didn't get a chance to put it out there for a sting, and then it did move to 15, 16. Obviously, the news was pretty obvious.
It was all about Franklin, wasn't it?
Yeah, the news. Franklin was always going to get let off before they went to the tribunal, and the bookies were just a hair slow to react to it. So there was some times where we had 15 to 16, which were also a bet. At 19 and 20, it'd be a stay out for me. I'd be looking more maybe for Sydney around the 1 to 39 kind of margin, or even the 25 plus. I'd rather be on Sydney. I think they're consistent. Their form's going really well, even though they're still, it looks like 6v 9th, looks like a closer contest than it is, ladder-wise, but the form is a long way apart from mine. Sydney are very consistent. They're well coached, and I just think Essendon are going to struggle to score in this game. So I'm a fan for Sydney. I think Franklin being let off, he might have more concentration for the ball this week, and he's obviously chasing down that 1,000-goal target. If Sydney get on top early, they might run away with this one.
I think the line was, 28.5, 29.5 last time these teams played in about round 4 or 5 or something.
And Essendon got them.
Yeah, Essendon got them.
Yeah.
They match up well.
They won by 3 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think also the other anomaly in this game is that they are playing at the Gabba, and Sydney have been on the road a lot this year, so I think it just slightly favours that side as well. So, I'm pretty keen. I think Sydney should go in most people's multis head-to-head this week as well.
Okay, the other team that you like talking about a lot is the Richmond Tigers, who are away favourites against the Dockers at Optus Stadium. 156 the Tigers, 245 the Dockers, 9.5 the line here. No Nat Fife, no Fremantle Dockers.
Yeah, fair. Well, no Dusty, no Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
People are quick to forget, aren't they? I really think, even though Fife was obviously out from last week, Martin was only out the week before, so I think that kind of cancels each other out in terms of trying to line up the games. So, Richmond opened 8 and they've just gone to 9. I think that's, I had it marked 12, so there's not the edge there to bet, and I think it'll tend to slide more Richmond's way. I think they've got more to play for now. I think Freo, with the loss of Walters as well with Fife, is damaging. Their ruckman Darcy, who's been close to their best player this year with Mundy, starting to struggle with his knee, and they've got a few other ones limping. So I just think maybe the psychological of Fife going out on top of Walters with Freo might be a little too much. And Richmond still have that inner belief and strength that they can grab that 8th spot and give you a sight for your finals come September. So I just think the market will trend Richmond's way. They're a slight lean, definitely not, I wouldn't put them in for a bet. 1 to 39 Richmond, or even the 1 to 24, something around that slot might be your options if you're betting.
Looking at bomb.gov.au, there's maybe 5 mil of rain, 90% chance of showers over at Optus Stadium, so a little bit slippery. Does that play into the hands of the Tigs?
No, just yes, it does. Yeah, and it probably makes it a lower scoring game total wise, which also brings into the margins where I think you can, if you like Richmond, 1 to 39 is a pretty comfortable bet.
Okay. All right, let's have a look at our next segment, which is buy, hold and sell. And this is where we talk about the futures. We'll have a quick look at the premiership odds first, and your Cats, $4. Western Bulldogs, $4. The D's, $5.50. Brisbane Lions, $7. $8.50. Port Adelaide Power. Swans are into $9.50. The Eagles, $34. Tigers, $34. GWS 61, the Bombers 101, and you can pretty much write your own ticket. The rest, the Cats are on this big streak. Only the Brisbane Bears, the Lions, have knocked them off in the last 11 weeks. Well coached.
Yeah, they're going well.
They want to play every game down at Cardinia Park. Chris Scott's pretty vocal about that. He can't figure out why the draw's not tailored for the Cats. I think they got a pretty big advantage down there.
They're going along nicely. I don't think it matters where they play at the moment. They just got to concentrate on implementing their game plan. Very solid side. A bit like Sydney at the moment. You just know what you get with Geelong. Very consistent. At $4, they're not going to get me. We've kind of stayed away from them all year. where, and I still think even though they're probably a lock for the top 4, they've got 1 or 2 games that'll test them in the run home. But if you're talking a matchup between the Bulldogs and Geelong, I'm still leaning for Bulldogs at the same price.
As we said earlier.
I think I prefer the Bulldogs, and if they were the grand final. Melbourne are finally on the drift. I'm not sure if the bookies or the punters really got behind them. I know Melbourne have got some deep pockets behind them in their punters, but they're finally starting to get out. And I just think come finals at the end, I don't think Melbourne will hold top 4 in the betting either. I just think something's not clicking at Melbourne at the moment, and it's just taking a while for them to shake out. I think Brisbane and Port might push up behind Melbourne in the premiership betting.
I think you'd need a COVID-free Melbourne in the game at the MCG for Melbourne to stay heavily in that market. Okay, let's have a look at the Brownlow medal picture here, and Marcus Bontempelli holds firm here. He's now into odds on at top spot, $1.90. Ollie Wines has been the big move in the last 6 weeks, $4.70. Sam Walsh is back into $9.25. That looks sickly short from mine. Petrarca $9.50, Oliver $9.50, Darcy Parish $9.75, Jack Steele $14, McRae $21, Merritt $26, Mitchell $31, and Lyons $34. The market to me looks pretty spot on.
Yeah, you're just riding Bont home all the way, aren't you? A pre-post bet looks pretty good at the moment. Or pre-season bet, I should say.
Your early futures were, you nailed the Bulldogs, you nailed Bontempelli, all your top 4s, your top 8s. Futures just seems to be your wheelhouse, and you do spend a lot of time on the Brownlow, so I'm looking forward to you handling that action for the last 4 weeks. But there's no fat and there's no tricks here, is there, this late in the season?
I think, Bont's the obvious at the moment, and I think just with the media coverage he gets and the undertones in the media are almost saying Bont's home. It doesn't. I don't think it matches up necessarily that way. I still think there's 3 others that can beat him with 4 rounds to go. I don't think it's a done deal yet. I understand why he's short, and he may be the obvious. Obviously, Bulldogs are on top of the ladder. He's played some absolute nailed on 3 votes, so he's definitely going to make the count go probably beyond 30 votes. Which, as we said a couple of weeks ago, there's very few players once the winning count looks like going above 30. There's very few that can win. So outside Wines, Oliver, and maybe Petrarca, I still think Steele's a bit of a smoky. In terms of getting there. Probably he's got a tougher run home St Kilda in a non-winning side. But yeah, the only one, I still can't come into Sam Walsh. He just sticks out in that market as being well unders. And we'll see with 4 weeks to go. We'll see what comes out. But at the moment, he just can't win the Brownlow.
Yeah, it's usually got a history of known pollers, and Bontempelli, he gets automatic through. Sometimes these guys just overpoll, and Nate Fife is another example of that.
Even Dusty.
Yeah, Dusty. They just overpoll. The umpires don't know what to do. They're up in the mix, and so they just throw them in for 2 or 3 votes, and they just get a couple of sneaky ones that they may not deserve. Yep. Let's have a look at the Coleman medal market. Harry McKay, Under a Cloud, $1.48. Tom Hawkins, $6. Jack Rewalt, $6.50. Taylor Walker, $7.50. Josh Bruce, $12. $16. Benny King. My Man Astronaut, $21. Josh J. Kennedy, a similar quote, and Birdie closing in on his 1,000 at $26. Still laying he probably have to if he's injured. But
it's a big week this week, whether he gets up or not. I'm sure he will play. Well, I'm not sure he's playing. I'm hoping he doesn't actually, but I think he will play. But the big boys are right behind him, aren't they? Hawkins and Rewalt, and
Walker 46, Hawkins 45, and Rewalt 44. So he's gettable.
Yeah, we've been a layer of Walker as well, so he'd be red figures in our book as well. So I'm still not cheering for him either. More Hawkins and Rewalt. I don't think this is over. I don't think it's a lay down misère around the $1.50 mark for Mackay, and I think he'll be a tough watch, especially the way he kicks for goal, and Carlton. If they do throw the towel in, there might not be too many goals left for him. So, it's a market that might have some life in it the last month.
I could see people multing him up in Premiership and Brownlow books, but yeah, at $1.50, it's a long time, or $1.48, it's a long time to have your money tied up. Top Rope will probably just pick off a $1.50 winner in a day or multiple
Gorgeous.
times throughout the day in the Olympics. So you're better off just to keep turning your dollars over there. All right. Well, if you want more of Mark's action or the complete set of his AFL Stings, check out Little Birdie Shop. And if you want to do some modelling or if you want a pro form subscription, make sure you check out puntingform.com.au if you want to bet on the horses this spring carnival. It's about to heat up. August, all the good horses come back. So if you want to learn how to bet like a pro, make sure you check out puntingform.com.au. We'll take a quick break and we're going to talk Hall of Fame and Rugby League and some Olympics with Top Rope next. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot. I've got MG in studio. Now it's time to talk Top Rope Tedeschi and talk Hall of Fames. And he's our man of the moment, actually. He's our Olympic Games medalist analyst, and he's just been sifting through the piles of Olympic trash, and it's now our treasure. But Top Rope, welcome back to the show.
I'm exhausted, boys. I am absolutely exhausted. It has been Olympic fever has beset me. I am 6 in the morning up doing form, finish up about 12:30 at night. It is relentless. But how good is it? Olympic Games, just pick, just there. They don't have the sniper shooting in the Olympics, but we're doing plenty of it here.
Yeah, you're just sifting like a prospector, little golden nuggets, and you refine bets. I don't know, 3 or 5. You're across so many different sports, and I tell you what, big hat tip. Some of the range that you're finding is just incredible. But let's have a quick chat about NRL at the moment. It's absolutely bonkers up there in lockdown. We've seen a player hang out a towel on a balcony, and all of a sudden it's a COVID breach. Meanwhile, Anastasia has gone to COVID-riddled Tokyo, won the games for Brisbane. Oh, incredible effort there. One horse race. And she doesn't even have to quarantine on the way back. But of all things that happen in NRL, you get rolled for hanging out a towel.
Well, let's start with Anastasia, classic Queenslander right there. In the same week that they're threatening to shut the NRL down for player COVID breaches, they've gone and offered $20 million to stage the entire final series in Brisbane. So here's a tip: nothing's going to happen. They'll keep playing rugby league in Queensland for the rest of the year. And they'll keep playing rugby league in Queensland until it becomes an Olympic sport in 2032. So enough with the rot from Anastasia. Jimmy Robertson's got a pretty colourful history. So to be nabbed for hanging a towel up on a balcony, it's a little bit stiff.
Big news is Brian To'o. He's got a big injury problem here, and 220 about the Storm. It looks tantalising.
It looked tantalising 6 weeks ago. It's just free right now. They're just asking you to take their cash bookies. So, a couple of things with this. Penrith are hit pretty hard by injury there. Second on the ladder, but they'll go around, I think, 16.5 point dogs last time I checked this week. They've lost Cleary, of course, out. Brian To'o. Tyrone May out for the year now. They've lost James Fisher-Harris for 3 weeks. He's gone to the birth of his child. A couple others in the mix there. They are well and truly short of troops. Api Coruscant, of course, for his COVID breach during Origin. I think there'll be a strike there. If you always want to bet the healthy team going into the finals, the Storm have not had a fit team all year. They're starting to come good. Penrith going the other way a little bit. So obviously was keen on Melbourne at the start of the year, keen on Melbourne all the way through the year. $2.20 is massive overs. This is our team being panels ahead. And, of course, boosted, boys, by Craig Bellamy re-signing for another 5-year deal.
Haven't got bellyache into the Hall of Fame, but it's a matter of time. But, MG, you think it's nearly a home ground advantage? If the grand finals played at Suncorp, that's Storm. Look, they're just up the road, the sunny coast. Yeah. They just seem bubble-proof, these guys. They love it up there.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely home ground advantage, especially with the teams left as well. So Penrith will have to travel to go beat Melbourne Storm. I I can't believe Top Rope's still tipping everyone into the Storm. We're beyond knee deep. We're about neck deep. So
what was it? I think $6, $7 at the start of the season. I think
it was $8.
Was it $8? And the Bunnies were his other pick at about 13. You've been against Penrith, so I'd hate to see the red in your book for the Panthers, but you're going to go down with the ship here with Storm. But yeah, they look a safe way to play.
Top Rope's holding off for Bellyache to go into the Hall of Fame. He's just waiting for that Monday show after they win the flag. So he's very disappointed.
He put in a ripper this week when yesterday with the players. Cameron Munster started giving him grief about how much money he was on. And then Bellyache expired back, but we've only got 25 players instead of a squad of 30 because of the money you're on, Munster.
Nice little retort there.
And shut him right up, and he just goes, 1-0 Munster, 1-0.
Yeah.
Too good, Munster, and he's a two-time Hall of Famer here at Little Birdie. And the Hall of Fame is something that we do. Each week we put in someone who's done something magical for the punt. Last week it was Colin Morikawa. The boys on the Golf Podcast tipped him up 40-1 in some places. It was absolutely heaven for the final major at the British Open there. But this week, Top Rope, we'll go to MG. MG needs a little turn here. Not that we ever enter any of MG's
I got my
suggestions, but who you got this week?
I got my 2 for the year, didn't I? I know. Top Rope's not even going to give this a slice. Well, he probably doesn't even know who he is, but just a quick personal one. We had a good little turn. Jack Rewald after the siren in the Richmond game for punters who were following. We tipped Geelong 1-39 and the over total in the game, and he kicked after the siren from the boundary line from about 45 out, and the goal put Geelong in the slot of 1-39 and also over total. So it's a massive swing for punters.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Monster.
One of the better goals for the year for me, Top Rope. So I know in the overall scheme, it doesn't measure up to Marikau from the week before, but it was a good little get out.
I think that's it's okay, but there was a big blow landed in the men's 10-metre air pistol. I'd never heard of the event, didn't know what it was. I'm still not really sure what it is, but Top Rope, take us away. This is your moment in the sun. It was the first big body blow you landed on the bookies. Who is this guy, Jarvid?
Who is this guy, Jarvid? He's probably the greatest Iranian athlete since the Iron Sheik, for all you WWF fans out there. One of the absolute greats, Javad Farugi. He currently number 7 in the world. Not sure how he was so far down the world rankings. Maybe something for the International Shooting Federation to look at. But he certainly dominated. $8.50 into $5. Got the first gold for Iran. He's got the first gold awarded during the Olympics. And got the first gold for Top Rope's Tokyo Torches. So something for the subscribers out there. It was a thrilling watch. For those who haven't watched 10-metre air pistol before, holy moly. The drama. What happens is there's a pretty boring qualifying round. 10 people go through to the final. And then you get 2 shots apiece. And then the bottom 2 are fighting it out for elimination. The bottom one is eliminated. It is the Royal Rumble of professional shooting. It is wild.
Sounds like
wild
Big Brother
stuff.
or Survival kind of setup.
It was nuts. And I might have had a little bit on the winner of the women's as well at a decent price. And she was down the entire way, and she was 1.8 points down, which in fencing terms is like leading by about 60 metres. In shooting terms, is about 60 metres ahead in a 100-metre sprint. The other girls shot like an 8, and this girl shot like a 10.6, got the win. So 10-metre air pistol, cannot recommend it enough. Can't wait to find the 10-metre air pistol circuit. Can't wait to be betting on this as a week-to-week proposition. I think it's very exciting.
Oh, you just heard how sick Top Rope is. So Top Rope's Torches, $66. It's a daily set every morning at 10 a.m. You've just had your Weet-Bix, you're stuck in lockdown, and you just start to fire off Top Rope's best bullets for the Olympic Games over in Tokyo. How sick is he? He only gives 3 or 5, or probably 5 of his best bets a day, but he's bet on everything else. So Turnover is up in the Tedeschi household, but he's going to deliver the best bets. And as you heard, he can find him in the pistol. And I think today he's back to one of his strengths. He's got some golf tips. There's some fencing.
His wheelhouse.
The weightlifting the other night, it was $1.50 into $1.15. It was one of the sickest beats ever. It was a coaching error. They left the back door open for the Filipino woman in the 55 kilo lift.
You can't leave the back door open.
Oh,
you
God.
can't leave the back door open. Weightlifting is a sick watch.
It's awful.
They don't even go for gold.
That's terrible.
She could have lifted 10 kilos more.
I don't understand. If you keep lifting the weight, why only have 3 turns? You should be able to keep lifting until you drop the bastard.
Yeah. It was it's a sick watch for the people who didn't know the rules or everything, as we were getting explained by Top Rope in the run. That the girl that you're on actually lifts everything, doesn't miss a beat, and runs second. So it's it's a brutal sport when your coach dictates your weight and the potential strategy of how to get a gold. But anyway, you can't win them all.
Anyway, Javed Faraji enters the Little Birdie Hall of Fame, joins an illustrious list off the back of Colin Morikawa. He hasn't won a gold medal, but I'm sure he will one day soon. And as I said, the golf Top Rope's going to start slinging into the golf. And a little shout out to Cam Smith and Mark Leishman. Their kits at the moment in the Olympic golf are just incredible. They're taking the absolute piss and loving life over in Tokyo. But if you want to love life in Tokyo, head to the Little Birdie shop, get Top Rope's torches. You can join daily. We keep dropping the price. Start at 77. Now 66. It'll go down by about $5 or so each day until we get the last day of competition. We'll take a quick break and then we'll talk NRL next. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot. We've got MG and Top Rope Tedeschi, brought to you by Punting Form and topsport.com.au. Let's have a look at Thursday night at BB Pring Stadium up at Mackay. Be cracking weather up there at the moment. Parramatta Eels are the favourite here, $1.57. The Roosters, $2.40. 4.5 the line, a little bit of a nibble for the plus there, and 48.5, and the money is for the under. What can you tell us about Mackay, Top Rope?
That's in Queensland. That's about it.
It's warm.
It usually plays pretty fast. There's been a couple of NRL games up there, usually daytime affairs, so it's going to be a pretty fast track. Really don't like this game, though. Parramatta, I reckon, are in a major lay spot at the moment as the favourites. They were dreadful last week against Canberra. No Moses still. They're pretty one-dimensional. They got found out this time last year. Definitely lean towards the plus, but the Roosters just kept getting hit hard by injury. They've lost a few more this week. Ikuvalu out for the season now. Billy Smith, the new young centre, he's out for the season. So they are running on fumes at the moment, the Chooks. And the other knock on the Roosters, they've barely lost a game against a team outside the top 4, but every game against the top 4 side, they've lost by double digits. So couldn't get too heavily involved in this game. Probably smaller plus, but difficult game to kick off the week.
What about a sicko play for the totals? Is there any angle?
I'd rather be on the under. Parramatta are incapable of scoring points without Mitchell Moses there, which is a sad reflection of where the Eels are at. But they do defend pretty well. They've conceded, I think, 13 off Fury in 5 straight. So the under is the play for me there.
We're going to skip the West Tigers New Zealand game, so make sure you check out Top Rope's action in the shop if you want analysis on that match. But Broncos versus Cowboys is the next one. Suncorp Stadium, which we're hearing will be the home of the Rugby League Grand Final. $1.78 the Bronx, $2.06 North Queensland, a flat to the line, and 52.5 is the total. Broncos, anytime that they're favourite, you usually just sink your teeth into laying the absolute guts out of them. What are you going to do this week?
I despise this game as a betting proposition. It's just two horrific sides playing. There's absolutely no way you can take the Broncos favoured. There's absolutely no way you could take the Cowboys on the road. So very concerning. If I was forced to have a side bet, and FYI, I will have a side bet at some stage, it'll be on the Cowboys. But I can get involved in the under here too. These teams hate each other. They will see this as an opportunity for a very rare win this year. So I expect the defences to be kind of on song. I think the under is the way to play in this one.
Well, I know that Orange has just come out of lockdown, Top Rope, but you might have to have a COVID test. You might be coming down with something. You've tipped 2 unders in a row.
two unders and suggested two non-bets in the side. something is seriously wrong. I might go for a COVID test this afternoon and see how many one putts I can hit on the golf course today.
There's something not sweet there. Saturday afternoon, we've got a rejuvenated, perhaps, Canberra Raiders opening up favourites. This is at Suncorp also. $1.72 the Raiders, the Knights, $2.15 the line, 2.5 there, and 49.5 the total. Are they back the milk?
I wouldn't say the milk are definitely back. In fact, I will look. I'm not betting this one early. I'm waiting for team lists to come out. But if Ponga and Pearce are playing, I will be backing the Newcastle Knights plus 2.5 here. Knights have a pretty good recent record against Canberra. Won 4 of the last 6. Beat them earlier this year in Wagga. It is a niggly matchup for the Raiders. They're pretty short on troops. Only time Pearce and Ponga played together this year, they beat the Cowboys 38-0. Pearce has been named in an extended squad, so I'm going to have to wait to see whether he plays. If he's out, the Raiders will win by plenty. But if he's playing and Ponga plays, I think the Knights are pretty good value.
It just seems to be the way with that team. It all just hinges on Pearce and Ponga. Okay, match of the round. I'm a little bit surprised, but not really at the same time. Suncorp Stadium, Storm versus Penrith Panthers. Match of the round, 1v2, and the betting's $1.13 and $6.20. 18.5 the line, 18 to 18.5, and 45.5 is the total. This is just crazy. I know Brian To'o is out, and Penrith are starting to really waver with their injury list, but gee whiz, you think the game's fine, but first v second, 8.5. In AFL, this would be equivalent to what, 40-odd point line, MG?
Yeah.
And it's first versus second, and everyone's saying, oh, no, the game's good.
Yeah, a lot of injuries, and obviously to the key men. Having Cleary out's obviously the big difference. But yeah, when the line come out here, was it 12 or 14? It's already gone to 18. I know Toho's
11.5. 11.5.
So,
the injury toll probably wasn't expected to be as bad as it is for Penrith, but it's very hard to see how they can compete, whether they're trying to really compete this week. I think they've seen they're going to be without Cleary. They're going to be without a couple others. They've lost actually 6 starters now. This is just going to be all upside for Penrith in terms of the psychology. They're going to go in with no expectations, and if they get this reasonably close, well done. If they get absolutely hammered, they'll just put it to one side and say, well, we're missing all their stars. So, the game this match has definitely had plenty taken away from it. I'd still rather be on the minus than the plus here. I think the Storm had one eye on this week. Last week, Bellamy re-signing big deals, so the Storm are very good as big favourites. Penrith, they've really. It's not surprising they struggled that Cleary, but what has been disappointing was how the lack of direction they've had with Jerome Luai, one out leading the Hearts there. They were lifeless against the Broncos last week. So. I think the Storm can probably do a number on them. But Penrith are going to have to rely on their defence. It is a very good defence. If they can hold the Storm, they might be able to kind of keep this to an 18-6 loss. But they're not going to be able to kind of keep this one. They're not going to be able to win this one, that's for sure.
So the Storm were off their tucker last week, and we see the same pattern in AFL at the moment. If there's a blockbuster next week, the week before against the weaker sides, they just take the foot off the pedal.
Yeah, and we looked at that straight into the match, didn't we? They just seemed a bit flat, and it kind of played out true. So I just wanted to ask Top Rope, so if you like the minus, is the under a better bet? If it's more going to be defence and Penrith holding on, or would you still rather back the minus?
I would back the under Penrith total. I reckon it's probably the strongest playing out. I don't think Penrith have any points in them here at all. So I'd be looking at that. Could back the under. I'd probably rather do the under than the over here, just because I don't think Penrith have any points in them. So I will be backing the Penrith under and probably the minus as my main ones, but also probably a little bit on the under as well.
There we have it. All right, that's the NRL wrap. If you want Top Rope's action, I think it's $77 for the rest of the season. Includes finals. Head to Little Birdie shop. We're going to talk lock of the week. Last week I was a little bit underdone. I steamed into the Storm minus, egg on face. But this week, I've had a really deep look at the form, and I think I'm going to get there for Lock of the Week. We're trying to raise money for raise.org.au to help teenagers through difficult times. We've got 10K in the bank for them for the year, which is great stuff. But I tell you what, this is so embarrassing. I want to say it every week, but we're going to box on for charity. So everyone's going to have a $200 throw at the stumps for Lock of the Week. MG, you're so piss weak in this segment. What do you got this week?
I've got a restricted lineup at the moment. The bookies seem to be a bit slow this week. We're still without two games of prices at the moment, so I feel a bit restricted in what I can do. But obviously the pressure's on now. We're running out of rounds and we've got to try and get to the 5,000. So I've got a 4 head-to-head all-up this week on Geelong, Sydney, Brisbane and Richmond. Comes out at about 2-1. So 200 on $3, and I've got a lot of cheering to do, 4 games. Bit like you, Scooty.
Hail Mary. I'm the king of the Hail Marys. Top rope, what about you, pal?
I'm having a little overs double for charity, and probably will kill this as well. Tigers Warriors over 55.5, huge line into the over in the Sharks Sea Eagles game, which was 54.5. So I have a little overs double there to be $3.60.
60 odd. Yep.
So
keeping it simple.
We'll load up on that.
Okay, I'm just going to take a handful of morals, and I'm going to plough it into one of my bogey sides for the year, just so I can absolutely curse them. And I can't believe I'm doing it. But Western Bulldogs to beat the Crows, Geelong to beat the Kangas, all heads up. The Rabbits to beat the Dragons, heads up. Storm to beat the Panthers, heads up. Manly to beat Cronulla, heads up. Into, drumroll, West Coast Eagles -9.5. I know it's against Collingwood, it's on the road, but if they can't pick up their feet against Collingwood, who look like they've been playing in concrete boots at the moment, I'll nearly eat my hat. So $200 there at $3.97. So I'm having a bit more of a crack than MG. That's my goal every week, just to get a higher dividend than his weak as piss betting. It's been a massive, massive show from us. It's Olympic Games to get us through the lockdown. Thank God it is on. MG, good luck with the AFL this week.
Yep, thank you. And the rest of the Olympics.
Yeah. Whew. There's a lot of betting. It's just non-stop. We had the NBA last week. We've had the golf. So we just bounce from sport to sport, and that's what we love. Top rope, good luck with the rest of your Tokyo torches. Keep up the good work there, and hopefully Orange can stay out of lockdown.
Lockdown, no lockdown. It's all the same for me. I never leave the basement.
Outstanding stuff. All right, if you want to get more of our stuff, or just follow us, our podcast actually, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, you can find us there, or you can head to Little Birdie Pod for the free tips there, so make sure you check that out also. We'll post them up. But big thanks to our presenting sponsors, Top Sport and Punting Form, and we'll see you next week.